Welcome to my monthly builds video for August 2019. I normally start this video off by telling you that I'm not actually building any computers in today's video. I'm just going over parts lists, and you can find links in the description and stuff like that. But today I'm actually starting off with a very quick unpackaging. Not an unboxing, mind you, because I'm not taking this all the way out of the box, but this is one of the cases I'm using this month.
Excellent!
The Hydro X series is Corsair's new line of custom cooling parts built for the world's most powerful and stunning systems. They've gone all out with CPU and graphics card water blocks, pump reservoir combos, fittings, tubing, radiators, and coolant, providing you with everything you need to build a spectacular custom cooling loop that lowers system temperatures and improves performance, complete with vivid RGB lighting. Click the sponsor link in the video description to learn more. Bubble wrapped. It's right by the mic. So once again, this is my monthly builds video. It's August, so I hope you guys are staying cool out there. I actually have 3 builds to go over today, but if you're interested in actually checking out me building systems, then definitely check out my builds playlist, which I'll link in the description. I have a couple that I did last month that I just recently tested, so you can check that out too. I usually build at least one of the builds that I part out in the monthly builds playlist, and then I test it later in the month. I also did a how to build series earlier in 2019 if you guys are wondering how to put a system together, so I'll link that in the description too. Speaking of the description, down there you'll find some straw polls. This month's builds are based somewhat on your votes from last month. A perfectly balanced mid-range PC built for both gaming and compute. That is what I did. And then if you want to vote for next month's, there are some September voting options there for you. Back to school, back to college, some other choices there as well. So let me know what you guys think. That said, let's dive into the first build, which is a bit of a revision from last month's $900 to $1,000 PC. I wanted to take some of the things with that build that were maybe a little bit hard to work around, or maybe not the best solution, just refine it slightly to make it a build that I'm very happy to say anyone could put together with minimal difficulties. That said, we're looking at a total price here of just over $1,000, $1,040 according to PC Part Picker right now, which is where I've put all of these builds together. This build is based on the Ryzen 5 3600 processor. I've got an aftermarket cooler on it, a B450 motherboard, and an RX 5700 for the graphics card. This CPU I think is kind of my go-to right now for a gaming system. The 3600 series gets you notably better performance with your graphics card, depending on the game you're playing and the resolution, of course, but it is a step up from the 2600 that's available, which you can find for much cheaper if you are trying to save some money. That said, it's 6 cores and 12 threads. It does come with a cooler in the box, but one of the things I discovered last month was that the Wraith Spire cooler that comes with the 3600X, as well as the Wraith Stealth, they tend to be a little bit louder, and they're not the best at cooling. They're definitely adequate if you're trying to save some money, but I decided to spend an extra $37 on this build for a Hyper 212 Black, which is an all-black cooler from Cooler Master. Add another fan to it if you want a bit of extra cooling. Good aesthetically, good cooler, and it's only $37, so that will be a better overall solution for you. With that cooler, you can potentially do some overclocking or use precision boost overclocking from AMD to get yourself a little bit more frequency on your processor as well. Now, the motherboard I chose last month was the MSI B450 Tomahawk, and that's been around for a while now, and it's a very good motherboard, but you would need to have it updated in order to be compatible with the 3000 series of processors. You can do that, and it has a BIOS flashback feature that you can do that without a CPU or memory installed either, but for anyone who's been having difficulty with that, or for anyone who just wants to put a system together and not worry about that update, MSI is re-releasing the Tomahawk as the B450 Tomahawk Max. Really not much difference to it other than the assurance that you're going to get a board that's updated to work with the Ryzen 3000 series of processors. The standard Tomahawk right now you can usually get for around $110 to $115. I can't find any listings for the Tomahawk Max right now, but it is on PC Part Picker now, and MSI has a landing page set up for it, so it should be available soon. That said, if you can't find the Tomahawk Max, feel free to go with the original B450 Tomahawk. Just keep in mind you're probably going to have to use the BIOS Flashback Plus feature in order to update the BIOS before it will recognize your 3000 series processor. Most people who have been doing that have said that it works though, so you don't need an older processor in order to do the update. Let's move on. For memory, I'm recommending a 3600 speed kit for Ryzen 3rd Gen, and last month I chose some kits that were reasonably priced. You could actually find them for $75 to $80, but the timings weren't that great. They were like CL 19 or 20. So this month I've gone with a Patriot Viper Steel DDR4 kit. It's $100. It's got timings of 15, 15, 15, 36. I don't know why it says tested timings, but CL15 or CL17 is better than 19 or 20. It's got a nice gunmetal gray heat shield on it, so that will blend in with most builds that you put it in. And it's only about $100, so that seemed like a better choice to me. For storage, I went with a 1 terabyte drive this time around, and you can get really good price per gigabyte deals on 512 gig and 1 terabyte NVMe SSDs if you keep your eye out. This Crucial P1 should be able to do 2000 megabytes per second plus reads and 1500 megabytes per second plus writes, which is 3 to 4 times the speed that you get with a SATA SSD, which are still priced around this same price per gigabyte. And with 1 terabyte, you're going to have a lot more space to work with if you're setting it up as an operating system drive and getting games and whatnot installed onto it. That said, you can save $50 by going with the 512 gig version of this, but for $100, 1 terabyte is a nice starting out point for your operating system drive. Moving on, we have the ASRock Radeon RX 5700, a great price for $330. These are supposed to be $350, and it's $330, and this card already has really good price to performance right out of the gate, even at $350. So yes, you could spend a few more bucks and get a 5700 XT, but just to keep things within budget, this was my choice here, and this is a great bang for the buck. For a case, I chose the Fractal Design Meshify C. It is about $90 right now, which is 10 or 20 bucks more than some of the cases I was recommending last month. That said, it's a solid case with really good airflow, and that was kind of the reason I chose it this time around. Also, I've been using the NZXT H500 variants for quite some time too, so wanted to throw something different in here because there are other cases that I do recommend as well. Finally, a power supply, the Corsair TXM. Gold rated is what I went for this time around. Power supply prices have come up, and this is due to the tariff situation going on right now if you're in the US, so unfortunately, your $50 awesome power supplies are harder to find these days. That said, $75 for a 65 watt, partially modular 80 plus gold rated power supply, I think is a good deal, so that's why I chose this one. Just bear in mind that does have a $20 mail-in rebate in order to hit that price. And that is it for our first build. Really solid for just over $1,000, and all around, you could do a lot with the CPU since you've got 6 cores and 12 threads. You have an upgrade path, and you have a really good gaming system right out of the gate as well. It should perform pretty much on par with the $950 system that I parted out last month, but it does have some tangible upgrades, I'd say, in there as well. Let's move on to our second system, which is based around this, which Leanne Lee just sent over, which I saw at CES this year. I didn't go to Computex, and I was excited because I like cases with handles. It's a mini ITX case. I thought it was micro ATX originally, but that's okay. It also supports mini DTX motherboards, which I'll get back to in just a second. But let's see what else I've chosen to go along with this system. I'm going for a powerful portable build here, so we're right around $1,550 total, and I went with the Ryzen 7 3700X 8-core 16-thread processor, which you can get for about $330. I also went with the higher-end graphics card here with the RTX 2070 Super, which is a great bang for the buck, even at $500. And then, of course, we're working with this TU150 case, which does have a few requirements. There's a landing page from Leanne Lee where you can look a little bit more at the internals and the layout and how the build would actually be put together. But one important thing to note is that it's only got 220mm fan mounts. So we're going to go with a 120mm all-in-one liquid cooler like they have in this demo image here. And part of that is because of portability. A large air cooler is a little bit more prone to damaging your motherboard if it's being moved around and jostled a lot. That said, check out the Leanne Lee landing page if you want a little bit more information on this actual case. Let's go over the rest of the parts. Starting with the 3700X, you got the 3700X and the 3800X when it comes to 8-core CPUs from Ryzen 3rd Gen, and the 3700X is just an awesome bang for the buck. You pay less, you can overclock it, still runs at very high frequency, so that's why I chose it. We have a cooler, of course, because we don't want to go with the stock cooler. We are trying to go for a little bit higher end. I chose the Master Liquid ML120R. It's a solid all-around cooler, and it comes with a push-pull fan configuration. It is slightly more on the expensive side at about $95. You can find 120 alt AIOs for a little bit cheaper than that, but this is one I've worked with before, at least a larger version, so I'm pretty confident with it. The motherboard was actually a really hard choice here, and I actually can't right now choose the motherboard I want to use. The motherboard I've chosen for the actual build layout is the ROG Strix X470-i Gaming Mini ITX, which is about $190, which is expensive for a Mini ITX board, although it is one of the highest end 400 series motherboards that you can get. The motherboard I actually want though is this one. This is the ROG Crosshair 8 Impact, and this was just demoed at Computex, and it is Mini DTX. So you'll note the ITX form factor here, which is about 7 inches by 7 inches. It's just vertically about a slot and a half wider, which allows allows them to add more stuff to it. And the idea here is that since most graphics cards that would fit into your single PCIe expansion slot on a mini ITX board are going to take up 2 slots anyway, why not just make the board a little bit longer and give the motherboard manufacturers a little bit more to work with. I apologize, this picture is a little bit blurry, but a couple things on this board I wanted to point out is this DIMM.2 slot here, which is a DIMM slot that you can put an M.2 dual slot card onto. So you can put 2 M.2 NVMe drives on that riser, which is pretty nice, which is right above the x 16 slot. The other thing is that this actually has a USB 3.1 Gen 2 front panel header right there, and that is something that also exists on this case. So I was like, I really want to put a motherboard in this case that supports all the front panel I/O, including that Type-C slot, and there's really no AM4 boards that have that connector on it except this one here. So you can see why I'm trying to hold out for this motherboard, although it's not currently available. I've hit up Asus. I'm hoping they will send one over. If not, I'll use the other one that I chose, but I really hope they can get this one to me. Moving on though, I chose the same memory kit here because honestly, beyond the DDR4 3600 and some pretty decent timings, I wasn't looking for much beyond that, and I don't need RGB or anything like that. The same SSD as well, because it's not a huge significant impact. There are some higher end SSDs that I might consider dropping in there, but for $100 again, I already explained why I think that's a good deal. For the graphics card, I went with the RTX 2070 Super because it is a solid amount of performance you get for the price at around $500. I was looking for some of the other aftermarket versions from like EVGA and MSI, but for $500, honestly, the Founders Edition does a perfectly fine job, so I wouldn't spend too much more on a different version than this one because like it's just fine. There's the case. I already showed you that. It's about $110 by the way already. I saw a listing on on Newegg for it. And then the Corsair power supply. We do need an SFX power supply for this case. That's part of the way that they've saved space in there. So the SF600 is a good choice there. Corsair kind of has a lockdown on like the high quality SFX power supplies right now, and they do tend to be a little bit more pricey. This one's about $120 or $130, but at least they're fully modular and they're platinum rated and everything. So it's a very good power supply. And the last build, which I'm parting out yet again, is one that I've been talking about for a while, but I'm actually should be building it this month. I've got confirmation from Singularity that they'll be sending me the case. Give me a couple weeks for that to arrive, and then I'll be working on my next super high-end crazy overkill water cool system, which is going to feature 2 of these MSI Seahawk EK editions of the RTX 2080 Ti. So that's a pretty significant bit of kit just to start out with. Here's the rest of the build as currently parted out. This probably isn't the completed build because I have some more water cooling components to work in there, but right now it's clocking in at about $7,500. At the top of the list, we have the 3900X. We'll probably swap into the 3950X once that becomes available. I'm not going to go over each individual part here because again, they might be subject to change, but I've got a 360mm all-in-one liquid cooler there. The MSI Meg X570 Godlike motherboard, which is just shy of $700. I have a 4-stick Corsair Dominator Platinum kits currently lined up, but honestly, this is insanely overpriced. You can get 64 gig kits for $300 to $400, and this one is $640 right now, but it sure does look pretty. The case, as I've somewhat previously mentioned, is going to be coming from Singularity cases, or Singularity PCs. This is their Spectre 2.0 case, which retails for $1,400 and currently has at least a 1-month backlog. But they've told me that mine is set up and will be on the way. It has like a manifold built into the back and crazy pumps, and I think they're going to be sending me some extra stuff to go along with it as well, so I can kit it out completely, and this will definitely be the most insane water-cooled system I've ever put together, simply due to the fact that I've never really worked with a case that has this sort of crazy backplane that lets you route the water cooling as well as the cabling through it. I did do some unboxings recently in my upcoming projects video where I unboxed the Seahawk cards and did a little bit of teasing about this project as well as talked about some of the other stuff I've got going on with it, so feel free to check out that video if you want a little bit closer shot of the cards themselves. Beyond that, I'm planning to throw in at least a couple 2TB SSDs so I can have a crazy RAID configuration or a massive SSD storage configuration. The Aorus NVMe Gen 4 2TB SSD would also be great to put in there, although that is also crazy overpriced. The 2 graphics cards are over $1,400 each. The Singularity PC case is $1,400. The power supply and the EVGA Supernova 1600 watt is over $400, so that's a lot of what's contributing to the overall price of this system. And finally, if you are interested in those EK Seahawk edition of the MSI RTX 2080 Ti, they're actually available on Amazon. Well, there's one left on Amazon right now for $1,420. So guys, those are my monthly builds for August 2019. And again, check out the straw polls down in the video description if you want to help vote on next month's, as well as look at links to any of these parts I've talked about today. I've linked them all where relevant. And I'm really excited about these builds I have lined up in the next few weeks too, so don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not already for them when they are available in video form. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out, and we'll see you next time.